Hello and welcome to Move or Improve. I'm your host, Debbie Miller. Thanks for joining me today. And many of you know that I am a native of the lovely state of Virginia, the Commonwealth. And there are a lot of advantages to retiring to Virginia, the Old Dominion. And I'm going to talk about that today. And if you decide that you already live in Virginia and want to sell your home and downsize and move to another community, I'll be here to help you. And if you want to move here from another area, I'm here to help you too. But I want to talk a little bit about some of the advantages of living in Virginia and retiring here. Virginia is known as the Old Dominion. And I'm going to let you in on some secrets about living here. As I said, I'm a native Virginian, and for the past 25 years, I've worked with people over the age of 50 to help them through the process of selling and moving to a new lifestyle, or I can help you remodel to age in place safely where you currently live. My clients are widows, divorcees, hoarders, active adults who've raised their children, and they don't need the same amount of space, or they want a different type of space. The trend today is towards new and safe, open space outside and office space inside. I'm going to talk about areas mostly in the Northern Virginia area that may interest you, as well as the type of communities that are available. And if you read through the lists that show best places to retire, you'll see many choices, but should you really prepare to go by that list? How did they determine that list? I think you should make your own list. How much can you afford? Do you want a big city? Do you want a smaller town? What type of amenities do you want? Are you going to be working part-time or full-time, or are you really ready to travel and lock and leave where you live? So let's talk about that. But first, I want to give you just a little bit of history about Virginia. Virginia was founded in 1607, has a population of about 8.5 million people, and it's one of 4 states that calls itself a Commonwealth. And when the 13 original colonies seceded from Great Britain, they weren't really sure what to call themselves, and at that time, the term Commonwealth was another name for republic, as in run for the Commonwealth as opposed to being run for the monarchy. Well, when the 13 colonies formed a union, the term state became the preferred name, but 3 of the colonies already used the word Commonwealth in their constitutions. And believe it or not, Kentucky seceded from Virginia, and it took the name Commonwealth. Pennsylvania and Massachusetts are the other 2 that still call themselves Commonwealths. And basically, Commonwealth just means they have a government based on the common consent of the people, as opposed to their royal colony status derived from the British king. And if you forget and use the term the state of Virginia instead of the Commonwealth, you may get some weird stares. Another thing to think about is Virginia has well-educated population and a very strong job market. There's small towns and larger cities, and many people who live in Northern Virginia also work for the government in downtown Washington, D.C., which is just a few miles away. And the federal government does have a stronghold in the area, and high-tech companies are taking root as well, and trade associations abound because the lobbyists have to lobby Congress to get things done. As a general rule, the closer you live to D.C., the higher the price you'll pay for housing. And just remember the term ITB, meaning inside the Beltway, or OTB, outside the Beltway. That's for housing, so you're either going to live ITB or OTB. Traffic can be heavy at times, but there's other ways to get around that. Metro is very much a sophisticated system right now, and it's being overhauled because it's been around a long time. And Virginia is tax-friendly for retirees. It's not the lowest rate in the country, but it does rank in the top 10 for low tax rates. Social Security income isn't taxed, and if your income is less than $12,000 a year, that's not taxed either. And your property assessment is based on the county you live in. So there's a sales tax and a grocery tax, but most over-the-counter drugs are tax exempt. Virginia has communities for every income level. The cost of living in Virginia is a little bit more than about 9% above the national average. Cost of living is higher in Williamsburg, Virginia, but the cost of living in Virginia Beach is much lower. Now, if you're thinking of retiring in Northern Virginia, which includes Alexandria, Arlington, Fairfax, Falls Church, and few cities within, like the town of Vienna and Fairfax City and Falls Church City, yeah, you're going to pay more. But there are charming areas like Fredericksburg and Woodbridge to consider, or even further south to Richmond and Roanoke. Virginia has low crime rates, too. The area has maintained one of the lowest crime rates in the U.S. for many years. One of the lowest violent crime rates in the country is 8%, and the average in the U.S. is 12%. Now, any violent crime is not good, but 8% out of 8.5 million is a pretty low number. Another plus to Virginia, they have excellent medical facilities. There's 89 hospitals in Virginia. There's about 130 primary care physicians per 10,000 residents, and that's much higher than the national average. And if you're a military retiree, the Department of Veteran Affairs has medical centers in Hampton, Richmond, and Salem, and there's 13 medical centers per 1,000 people. Another plus to Virginia, there's lots of outdoor activities and hiking. The Shenandoah Valley and the Blue Ridge Mountains provide abundant areas to camp and hike as well as be involved with nature. Many of the counties have parks and recreation centers with picnicking and hiking and camping and just enjoying the outdoors. Because Virginia does have 4 seasons, the fall foliage will blow you away, and a drive through the Blue Ridge Mountains in October is stunning. You will never forget it. Another good thing about Virginia, if you're into history, there's a lot of historical places to visit. There's Colonial Williamsburg and George Washington's Mount Vernon home, and Bull Run, the Manassas battlefield, and Yorktown and Jamestown. Well, Jamestown basically was the first master plan community, so there you have it. Another fun thing about Virginia is we have the Chincoteague ponies. For the past 100 years, the wild ponies cross the water in July every year, and it's quite a sight to see. The Virginia side is owned by the Chincoteague Volunteer Fire Company. Maryland's side of Chincoteague is managed by the National Park Service. But each year, the Chincoteague Volunteer Fire Company purchases a grazing permit from the National Fish and Wildlife Service of the government. This permit allows the fire company to maintain a herd of approximately 150 adult ponies on Assateague Island. The fire company controls the herd size, and they have a pony auction on the last Thursday of each July. Each year, tens of thousands of spectators come to watch the saltwater cowboys swim the pony herd from Assateague Island to Chincoteague Island. It's quite an event. The National Wildlife Refuge includes more than 14,000 acres of beach, dunes, marsh, and maritime forest. And most of the refuge is located on the Virginia end of Assateague Island. Chincoteague Refuge provides habitat for waterfowl and wading birds and shorebirds and songbirds, as well as other species of wildlife and plants. And the refuge staff maintains this barrier island habitat to allow many species of wildlife to coexist, each establishing their own place in the environment. Another thing people love about Virginia is the wineries. There's 250 wineries in the state, so you can enjoy tasting a variety of selections to your heart's content. And this is a big business, and you literally go for the day and you do wine tastings and you tour the area and you can eat there. It's a big deal. And there's 250, so you'll get through at least a year's worth of choices, and then you'll have to start all over again. And then Virginia has rivers that run to the Chesapeake Bay. And the Chesapeake Bay, for me, is just a wonderful place. The Potomac River, the James River, the Occoquan River, Shenandoah River, and the Rappahannock River are just a few that flow into the Chesapeake Bay. So if you love living on or near the water, this is a place to explore. Another thing about Virginia, in addition to having mountains, we have beaches. No, you're not in the Caribbean, but Virginia does have beautiful beaches. After all, the Chesapeake Bay provides many miles of beautiful beaches on the Virginia side. You can go to Virginia Beach, Colonial Beach, Buckrow Beach, many more to enjoy. Another plus to Virginia, which I love, is the abundance of seafood. Crabs and oysters are on the menu at many well-known seafood restaurants in Old Town Alexandria, Fairfax, and, of course, near the rivers. They just pull it out of the water and bring it right up to you. Another good thing about it, if you like golf, Virginia is for lovers of golf. Virginia golf courses comprise both private and public courses. There's 414 golf courses in the state of Virginia. Cities like Richmond and Virginia Beach and Williamsburg have the most number of golf courses. And, of course, country clubs have their own courses, so you have no problem finding a place to play. Virginia has several airports that service the area. Northern Virginia has Reagan National Airport, Dulles International Airport, and Baltimore-Washington Airport. And they're all conveniently located for national and international travel. And you can actually shop the three places to see who has the cheapest prices. And, of course, you can Uber to them if you don't want to drive and park your car there. But there's plenty to choose from, and you can get just about anywhere. Now, you're talking about, okay, get to the good stuff. Where can I live? There's several different places in the Northern Virginia area. Fairfax County, the population there is about 1 million people. And there's many national parks here. There's Great Falls National Park, Mason Neck National Wildlife Refuge, which is the nation's first sanctuary for bald eagles. There's over 300 miles of hiking trails and 400 parks on 20,000 acres. Some have wildlife preserves and working farms, and there's 200 regional shopping centers, Wolf Trap National Park for the performing arts. There's 800 playgrounds, and including one of the largest malls in the country, Tyson's Mall. And, of course, there's a metro system in place with many stops along the way that take you downtown, or working on getting out to Dulles now. It's not finished yet. The Silver Line is fast approaching finished. Some of the wealthiest areas are in Fairfax, including the town of Vienna, McLean, many retirement housing options, and Del Webb's has a new community near the Vienna Metro that's pretty incredible because it's right there by the metro. You can leave your car and not have to deal with it. Another place to think about is Falls Church City. Now, this is an incorporated city as part of Fairfax County, but it operates as a city with its own services and a board of supervisors. And it's a small, tight-knit area that's undergoing revitalization. And yeah, it's pricey, but there's a variety of housing options. Falls Church is an independent city, and it's about 6 miles from the nation's capital. And this proximity has been a major influence on its development, especially over the last century. It's a small city. It's only 2.2 square miles, and the population is just a little over 12,000, but its heritage dates back to the late 1600s when it was an early colonial settlement. And George Mason High School is a coveted high school. It's one of the top places that parents like to send their children, and that and Thomas Jefferson School for the Science and is close by in Fairfax County as well, not in Falls Church, but the schools are excellent. Falls Church was incorporated as a town in 1875 and as an independent city in 1948, mainly because parents were determined to improve the quality of local schools. So the city operates under a council-manager form of government with the provisions of the city charter that was adopted by the Virginia Assembly in 1950. It has a great mix of retirement living options, great walkability, and as I said, some of the best schools in the country are here. Another place to